You were doing something ordinary. Deadheading the roses, perhaps, or turning over a patch of soil near the hedge. Something you do without thinking, the kind of task that lets the mind go quiet. And then you noticed it. A robin, not at the feeder, not on the far fence. Close, much closer than a bird should be comfortable with. It was on the ground, perhaps a meter away, watching you work, not watching the soil for insects, watching you. You may have gone still. You may have tried not to look at it directly, the way you instinctively do when you don't want to break something that feels fragile. That moment had a name. You just didn't know it yet. In this video, you're going to learn exactly what was happening and how to know with certainty whether the birds in your garden have made a decision about you. Welcome to Garden Bird Secrets. If you're new here, subscribe, because what you're about to learn will change every morning you spend in your garden. In this video, I'm going to show you 7 specific, scientifically documented signs that the birds in your garden have already decided you are safe. Each one is measurable, each one has been studied, and each one is something you may already have seen without knowing what you were looking at. The last one, in particular, is not what you expect. For as long as people in Britain have kept gardens, the robin has followed them into it. Old gardening journals, some going back to the 17th century, describe the same pattern. Begin digging, and within minutes, the robin arrives. Watching, waiting, closer than comfort should allow. It was read for centuries as a sign of something. Good fortune, a presence, a bird that had chosen you. This is something British people have felt for centuries. Now we have language for why. The first sign is the most precise, and it is the one most garden owners misread as coincidence. When a stranger walks towards a bird in your garden, the bird leaves. That departure happens at a predictable distance, usually somewhere between 15 and 20 meters for most garden species. When you walk towards the same bird, it stays, or it retreats only a little, 3 meters, perhaps 2. Then it stops and watches you. That shrinking distance has a name in the scientific literature. It is called the flight initiation distance, the FID, and it is, quite literally, a measurement of perceived threat. Research led by Daniel Blumstein at the University of California, Los Angeles, and extended by ornithologists across Europe, has documented FID across hundreds of species. The findings are consistent. A bird that has assessed you as safe will tolerate your approach far beyond what it allows from an unfamiliar person. The robin that stands its ground at 1 meter is not bold. It is not tame. It has made a deliberate calculation about you, and the calculation has come out in your favor. In your garden, this means the distance your birds allow you is not random. It is a measure. Every meter closer is a unit of trust you have earned. Pay attention to it the next time you step outside. You may find the measurement is further along than you thought. The second sign is one that happens in the seconds immediately after you disturb them, and most people never notice it because they're watching the wrong thing. When a bird that does not yet know you is startled by a movement, a sound, a door, it leaves and it does not come back. Not quickly, anyway. It needs time to reassess. Minutes, sometimes longer. But when a bird has already assessed you as safe, the return is different. It comes back within 30 seconds, sometimes less. The BTO, the British Trust for Ornithology, has documented this habituation pattern in its long-running Garden Bird Survey, one of the largest citizen science studies of its kind in the world. What the data shows is that birds in established garden relationships distinguish between incidental disturbance, a garden owner moving around, and genuine threat. An incidental disturbance from a known individual triggers a brief flight, not an escape. The bird reads the movement as noise, not danger, and returns as soon as the movement resolves. A stranger's movement, by contrast, triggers sustained departure. The risk profile is unknown. The bird does not return quickly. In your garden, this means, if the birds come back to the feeder within a minute of you walking past, they have already filed you. They know who you are. They have decided you are not a threat. Watch for the return, not the departure. The return is the signal. Most garden owners have heard the alarm call. That sharp, urgent, repeated note that empties a bird table in seconds. It is unmistakable once you know it. What most garden owners have not noticed is this: whether it sounds when you step outside. In a garden where the birds do not yet know you, your appearance triggers it. You are an unidentified presence. The alarm goes out. In a garden where you have been assessed, where your profile is known and your behavior is predictable, the alarm stays quiet. You step out, nothing changes. The birds keep feeding. Researchers at the University of Exeter, in studies of robin and great tit behavior in UK garden environments, documented exactly this pattern. Birds exposed repeatedly to a familiar individual showed significantly lower rates of alarm, calling in that individual's presence compared to their response to an unfamiliar person. The familiar person had been categorized. The threat processing system simply did not activate. What this means, behaviorally, is that the birds have a file on you, and the file reads, known, predictable, not dangerous. In your garden, this means, if your birds carry on singing when you step outside, if nothing changes, that silence is not absence of response. It is the response. It means you are already known. If you've ever stood in your garden and felt genuinely watched, you were not imagining it. This one is subtle, easy to miss, but once you see it, you will not unsee it. Watch a bird at your feeder when it doesn't yet know you're there. Note the orientation. Note which direction it faces. Now step into view. Watch what happens. In a garden where trust has not been established, the bird rotates. It faces you. It keeps you in direct sight line while it feeds. In a garden where trust has been earned, it doesn't. It keeps its back to you. The behavior has a precise function in avian vigilance research. A bird feeding with its back to you has made a calculation. It has decided that the entity behind it does not require monitoring. This is not carelessness. It is the opposite. It is active deprioritization based on accumulated evidence. The bird has watched you, assessed you over multiple encounters, and reached a conclusion. You are not worth watching. Which is, in the language of garden birds, one of the finest things you can be. In your garden, this means a bird that turns its back to you while feeding has already decided about you. It has downgraded your threat level to background. You are furniture. Safe, familiar, part of the landscape. Watch for the orientation at the feeder. It tells you more than the distance does. Preening, the careful, deliberate process of rearranging and cleaning feathers, takes time. It requires a bird to look away from its surroundings, to direct its attention entirely inward. It is, in other words, a vulnerable behavior. A bird does not preen when it is alert. It does not preen when it is monitoring for threat. It preens when it has made an assessment of its environment and concluded, nothing here requires my attention right now. If a bird preens while you are nearby, that assessment includes you. Research in avian ethology, the study of bird behavior, has established preening as a reliable indicator of perceived safety. It is classified alongside resting, dust bathing, and one-legged roosting as a suite of behaviors that require a felt sense of security in the immediate environment. Oxford's Wildlife Conservation Unit, in studies of garden bird behavior, noted that birds exhibiting these comfort behaviors in the presence of humans had demonstrably lower corticosterone levels, the avian stress hormone, than birds that remained vigilant throughout a feeding session. The biology is direct. A preening bird is not a stressed bird. In your garden, this means the moment a bird begins to preen while you are there, while you are standing, gardening, watching, it has made a decision about you. You are not a threat. You are simply part of where it feels safe. It is a small thing. But it is not a small thing. The robin that follows the spade. Every experienced gardener in Britain knows this pattern. The small, round, rust-breasted bird that appears whenever digging begins. Moving a few meters ahead of you, landing on the freshly turned soil, then relocating as you work your way down the bed. It is one of the most commonly reported garden bird behaviors in the country, and it is, almost universally, read as personality. The bold robin. The curious robin. The robin that just likes company. The reality is more precise than that. Data from the BTO's Garden Bird Survey and independent observational studies in the UK confirm that the robin's tendency to follow a digging gardener is not indiscriminate. It is not performed for every person who enters the garden. It is performed for known individuals. Specifically, for individuals, the bird has already assessed as safe over repeated observations, typically after 7 to 14 days of regular presence. The robin follows you because digging exposes invertebrates. But, and this is the part that matters, it only follows people it has decided are not dangerous. The following behavior is a byproduct of trust, not a cause of it. The trust has to come first. In your garden, this means the robin that accompanies your digging is not simply opportunistic. It has already decided you are safe to be near. It chose to follow you. That is a different thing from following anyone who turns over soil. And then there is the seventh. Pay attention to what happens in your garden over weeks, not days. Weeks. When one bird has established that you are safe, when a single robin or a single blue tit has made that assessment and behaved accordingly, something shifts in the wider garden. Other birds begin to move differently around you. Birds that previously maintained their distance begin to reduce it. You did not change anything. But the birds changed. The mechanism behind this has been most rigorously studied in corvids, the family that includes our magpies and crows, by John Maslow and his colleagues at the University of Washington. Their research documented that information about specific humans spreads through corvid social networks. A bird that has assessed someone as safe or as threatening communicates that assessment to others. Juveniles who have never personally encountered the individual begin to display the same response as those who have. Whilst the mechanism in smaller garden birds is less fully documented, observational evidence from multiple BTO studies suggests that social transmission of this kind operates across species, that a garden's culture around a particular human develops and spreads in ways that go beyond individual experience. A magpie that begins to tolerate your presence, that watchful, assessing bird that previously kept the full width of the garden between you, has almost certainly received information. It is acting not purely on its own experience, but on the accumulated judgment of the garden's social network. In your garden, this means you are not just in a relationship with the birds you notice, you are in a relationship with all of them. And the assessment of even one, over time, begins to move through them all. Your name, in whatever form garden birds carry names, has been passed along. 7 signs. 7 measurable, documented, specific things that your birds do differently when they have decided you are safe. None of them required anything dramatic from you. No training, no special knowledge, no particular effort. You simply showed up, morning after morning. You behaved consistently. You moved carefully, or you didn't. But you were there, regularly. And over time the birds built a file on you, and the file came out in your favor. That is all trust ever requires, in the end. Consistency and time. Repeated evidence that something is what it appears to be. The robin at 1 meter. The blue tit preening at the feeder. The magpie that no longer leaves when you step outside. These are not accidents or coincidences or personalities. They are records, precise, biological records of the relationship your garden has built with you. Whether or not you knew it was being built, you were being assessed every single morning, and you passed. One question, before you go: which of these 7 have you already seen, without knowing what you were looking at? Write it in the comments. I read everyone, and I remember them. I'll see you in the garden.